incendie partout.
What is going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy. You're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. With me tonight, as always, is co-piloting this thing is the homeboy Rob.
Yo.
All right. Yes, it is a blistering night here in Los Angeles. But either way, we're gonna go. We're gonna press on, and so let's get this conversation started.
Oh man, yeah. Blistering is a very kind way of putting it. It is fucking hot, which normally with it being Los Angeles, of course, we live here. I enjoy the heat, but I don't expect it in the end of October to be like this hot. This is pretty bad.
Yeah, and it's breaking a lot of records. The season average for this time of year is about like 78 or so, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
it's pretty hot, but it's okay. I'll deal with it, and how life is sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mother Nature's getting one last little shiv, before it gets to winter.
True, but it's hot. It's tiring me out a little bit. I'm a little bit.
Yeah, actually.
I'm just like, my body is just not really wanting to do too much right now.
Yeah, I know. I don't even want to. I kind of don't want to be doing this right now because.
Yeah. I was thinking the same.
Because
I'm pretty exhausted, to be honest.
Yeah, because right now because usually I have my lamp. It has a dimmer, and so I have it on pretty low. It's like it lights up my room, but right now, if you see in my window, my room is pretty bright, but it's not as bright as this usually. I'm only doing this for the sake of the live stream.
Yeah.
And the lamp gets pretty warm, so which in turn makes the room warm, and so like the hour 15 that we do this, it gets to be a bit of an oven in here in my room.
Yeah, just a bit. It's a little warm in here too.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
Yeah. So
but we deal with it. We do this for the love of the audience and for it's a Tuesday ritual.
Right. We endure this discomfort for you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
You jerk faces. We endure this for you. So I hope you're appreciative.
Hopefully.
Right. But yeah, I mean, if you guys notice, I don't have a tan line on my face because I did go fishing over the weekend. Well, I don't even know if I should call it fishing because we didn't even get to go fishing because the conditions.
Oh yeah, what ended up happening with that? Because there was something like going on with the like there was some sort of advisory thing that went out like that.
Exactly.
So what exactly did you do?
Exactly. It was a high surf advisory that issued for the Friday that me, my dad, my uncle, and my cousin, left for, and so we decided not to, because we leave early in the morning, and then we get to the site, and we usually set up our tents and we set up camp, and then we go off to the beach to fish. But we decided to hold off on that for that first day, and then go the next day. But when we got there, oh my god, it was just it was bad. Like the surf, like the waves were like, it was like, I think there's it was like on the advisory it said like the waves would be like 10 to 12 feet with a no 10 to 15 10 to 15 waves with a maximum of 18 feet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty bad. And it was windy, and we like I got my pole, and then I cast it out there, but the line just ended up coming back like running parallel to me.
Oh man.
And yeah, and the waves like were breaking out so far out that it just wasn't worth it.
Yikes. Okay. So that's so fishing was not really a productive time.
Yeah, but also I did go in better prepared because I got one of those little face masks to wear, and so like even for like the small amount of time that I was outdoors, I was protected. So no embarrassing tan lines for me this time.
Oh yeah,
But
no,
also,
yeah,
yeah,
doesn't look like
yeah,
you have
but
like this giant like 5 o'clock shadow across half
right,
your
I know.
face.
I have the whole Homer Simpson thing going, but it was also I got the mask also as a precaution because tomorrow I have a job interview, and so I can't really come in with like a tan line across my face.
Yeah, you can't
It's
come up all Joe Beach over to your job interview and like, yeah, man, I'm so cool. I went to the beach.
right. So yes, yeah. So I mean, if you guys can tell, like I'm like I prepared myself. Like no tan lines, got a haircut. I just been going over possible questions that they might ask me, and what my possible responses could be, and I think I'm prepared. I think I'm ready.
Sweet, yeah. And as I was telling you, and I'll tell the audience, and I'm pretty sure that they'll agree. It's like that, Andy. Just just be confident in the work that you do. Be yourself. And yeah, you're gonna get this, man. Like I really believe that this is the one for you. And if it's not, there's gonna be more opportunities to come. So just keep fighting at it, man. You got this.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean. Yeah. I mean. I feel good about this. I feel good about this one, to be honest. But there is a little bit of extra pressure, just because my family, we run into a chain of fortuitous events.
Yeah,
We number one was my niece who was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a very very aggressive cancer 2 years
yeah,
ago,
yeah,
and she was she was a year and a half into treatments, and all the treatments weren't bearing much results. But
yeah,
this last treatment, it was a miracle because it killed off 90% of the tumors.
damn.
Yeah, so we were really we were really fortunate with that, and I mean she's not out of the woods yet, but I think we can there's definitely more hope
Yeah,
than
well,
there
yeah,
previously was.
exactly. Yeah, that's wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, that we were fortunate with that, and my cousin who was a lawyer, and she was working out of this pretty big law firm in downtown, uh, kind of doing more like kind of like as needed floater type of position. But
Yeah,
she and yeah, she was like kind of working there intermittently for like I think 3 or 4 years. I want to say.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then finally, she was able to land a permanent gig at another law firm here in LA. So
Right.
yeah, so now like she has a little, she has more certainty, and she doesn't have to worry about when when and if that law the law firm was going to let her go. And so yeah, so we're looking for a triple, trying to go for that
Yeah. Everything.
three-peat. Trying to go for that. My
Everything.
family's really hopeful for a three-peat, so
Yeah. Everything's coming up, Andy.
and
Or at least, or as of right now, it's coming up. Everything's coming up. Chung family. So.
right, yeah, yeah. So ears open.
Right. Yeah. I had to say things are turning the corner for me as well.
Hmm.
With just
Right, right. Yeah,
my
you just got that new job.
yeah. So I start that next week.
Hmm.
Um. Yeah. I've been. I started dating. Officially dating. Like about a couple months ago now.
Right. Yes,
So
I
there's
saw your Facebook status.
yeah, yeah, yep. I can now it's like I can really like I can officially like put it out there. So
Hmm.
um and uh yeah, I mean things are turning out
Yeah.
pretty decently.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, congratulations on both fronts, but like, especially with, I mean, I guess now I can say it officially, like your girlfriend.
Yeah,
I know it hasn't been the most pleasant of journeys.
no, it has not been a very pleasant journey at times.
And
Um,
you know, there, I don't even want to say, there are ups and downs, but
no, that's exactly.
because that just wouldn't describe it at all.
No, no, true. Well, it's one of those things where in most 99% of the cases, if this was anybody else, I would
Uh-huh.
have they would have been gone a long time ago. But sometimes like there's just that one person that you feel like that God keeps like pushing you towards, and I kind of felt like this was one of those relationships where it's like this is the person I was supposed to be with, and kind of through good and bad. And trust me, there was a lot of bad, and almost in a lot of ways, like not to like make her sound like bad or anything, but I felt like our situation was a lot like the story of Hosea and Gomer, where it was just a lot of like where I was dedicated, yeah, but she wasn't. She was kind of always like, yeah, no, and like there was always like this um, on and off type of feel to it. Um, I'm not calling her like a whore or anything because like Gomer was a prostitute who just like she was a symbol of the depravity of Israel. But that's
Right,
not
right,
why
right.
that's not the comparison. That's not the reason I'm making that comparison.
Sure, you're not,
Um,
Robert. Sure, you're not.
yeah. um, but yeah, that was the person that God put in Hosea's life, and and he had to stick through it through like a lot of thick and thin, and yeah, that's kind of how I've always felt about my relationship with her. There was just something about it that I just felt like
Right.
I had
Suffice
to
to
stick it
say,
out.
you were definitely pursuing her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
exactly.
know, diligently and faithfully. And
So
yeah, I mean, I guess your faithfulness and dedication have paid off.
yeah, and in the famous words of Stephen Urkel, I'm wearing her down.
Oh yes! Oh my God! I completely forgot about that. Yeah,
That's
yeah. I remember
it
like
was a little bit of
any little inch that Laura Winslow would give to Steve Urkel, he's like, he would take that as a sign of like, his, you know, dedication and faithfulness and just like just the process. It's kind of messed up too because it's like it's kind of messed up thinking in the matter like that you actually have to like chip away at someone until like you almost have to get them to the point of exhaustion and exasperation to the point where it's like fine, okay, all right. I mean I mean I don't mean to like
that it's.
I don't mean to badmouth you, but
Maybe like exactly that's kind of what happened. I think there was a part of like just exhaustion on her part where um maybe that's not how she would describe it, but yeah, it on my part I was starting to get exhausted.
right, I know. Yeah, I bet there are some times where you just felt like kind of walking away from the whole thing, and
Oh yeah.
and even though all this time, energy, and resources that you kind of poured into like this project, and yeah, I'm sure there are times you're tempted to just like walk away from it and just dust your hands of it and be like, I'm done. You're something now. You're someone else's problem and all that other stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of that like discussion in my brain. Where I should just like say fuck it and walk away.
Mm-hmm. Hey Robert, could you tilt? I mean, I don't know if you're using your iPad, but could you tilt down a little bit here because like the bottom half of your face is being cut off. Perfect.
Yeah, is this better? All right, good.
Perfect.
Yeah, sorry about that. Um, yeah, it's just the I'm in a different location in my apartment today since I was watching the game and well it's over
Right.
now but it's
Yeah.
it's so I'm in a different area than I normally would be.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, obviously I'm a giant Dodgers fan, and for the first time, well, that I can remember in my life, the Dodgers are finally back in the World Series.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah. I mean, the
I'm
last time they were in the World Series for me, I was 4 years old. So.
I was two. So yeah, I wasn't a baseball fan back then.
Right.
But so this is a very exciting time for me just to be able to watch. Yeah, I mean, I still watch baseball and like I just enjoy like a good World Series, but to actually be able to root for my own team in the World
Mm-hmm.
Series is something special to me because it doesn't come around all that often. Certain franchises seem to have their fans are kind of lucky where they're in it all the time.
Right. Yeah, we're
But
talking about you, New York.
yeah, or St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm just yeah. So it's just kind of a different feeling being able to root for my own damn team
Yeah.
for once. Kind of
Uh-huh.
nice. Yeah, I was likening it, but because I don't normally get all the the chills and the goosebumps like in like a lot of sporting events.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time that I felt like this was for also like my other favorite sport is NASCAR, and my favorite driver was Dale Earnhardt Sr. And he took him 20 years to win the Daytona 500, and he lost it on so many just weird, fluky ways. And the
Mm-hmm.
year that he finally won the damn thing, I felt so much jubilation and just relief, and that's kind of how I feel with the Dodgers being in the World Series this year. So it's a very special time for me, and with all the other like good positives that are coming up, it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, and yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a sports person. I'll watch a game. I'll watch baseball. I'll watch football. I mean, I'm more of a basketball person, but but I'm not really into sports where like I could tell you like all of like point guards like shooting average, or when they or like what their record is, or how many triple doubles they made, or whatever. But I couldn't tell you the batting average of so and so, or like how many runs a certain football player did. But I enjoy just the athleticism that's presented, and just the level at which these athletes perform. I definitely have an appreciation for that. And so I yeah so I don't yeah so I don't really follow it, but I do enjoy it. And I think I think it's a little bit harder for me because my dad wasn't really into sports, so there wasn't I wasn't influenced by that. And I never played in any youth sports leagues growing up, so I didn't
Right.
have necessarily that influence either. But yeah, I mean, if it's a good game, then I will definitely enjoy it. Especially the first game of tonight's game. It was a pretty entertaining game, I'll have to say. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't watching it all the way through, but I'll give it that it was a very entertaining game to watch. And
Yeah.
and I was very impressed with just the athleticism, and just and the strategy that goes into baseball. Because like some people don't think that there is a strategy, but there is, and I
Oh
appreciate
yeah,
it.
there's a huge science to like defense and offense, and like just how different counts, like you have like different strategies that get employed, and a lot of people doing a lot of hard work with all that stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, honestly, like when I was growing up too, like I wasn't necessarily like into a whole bunch of like different sports. The one sport that like my dad was into, that I got into, that I still love today, obviously, is auto racing, mainly NASCAR,
Hmm.
which is really like the one like big like white, like, kind of like the big white thing about me. Though honestly, like NASCAR is starting to become more of it definitely. I mean, it still has a little bit of its southern roots, but it's not just a southern sport anymore.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyways, yeah, it's kind of it's a white thing, I guess. So that was always something I was into, and I came into loving baseball much later in life. Actually after I graduated high school.
Hmm.
Circumstances didn't really allow me to watch NASCAR on Sundays. So I was like, well, I got to find something else to watch, like that I can watch during the week too. And
Hmm.
baseball's on, nearly every day during the week. So I was able to watch that, and I was kind of a casual baseball fan, but
Hmm.
after that time period, really made me into a diehard fan.
Hmm.
And just like learning about it, understanding the science behind it, the strategy, uh, um, and as cool as all the stuff that I like about NASCAR, about strategy, and just all the good stuff I liked about NASCAR. Baseball had too. You had a ton of history. I love. And yeah, this kind of became like my second sport. Just much later in life.
Hmm.
I've kind of there was a short time in my life where I watched pretty much every sport all like all the time. And but as I've gotten older, I was like, I gotta like tone it down just a little bit, where it's like, let me just focus on a couple, because the watching all these sports all the time, it's just I can't do it anymore. um so yeah, I've kind of just focused on baseball and auto racing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, there's just yeah, there's something about baseball that just there's something majestic about it that I really enjoy. Same thing with like there's certain places in the auto racing world that are just it has that same like majesty to it as well. Like because
Hmm.
I've been to I've been to some of like the big like racetracks, like Daytona, especially like when you go through that tunnel to
Hmm.
like racetrack. I mean, you just hear like the all the old like all the great like calls and like the ghosts that like live from the past that are there. It's just it's a very exciting feeling. I can't really, I don't know how best to describe it, but yeah, it's like you hear like all like the all the things from the past that from those type of places. And
Hmm.
as well, especially because the Dodgers are one of those original franchises. And
Right.
Dodgers Stadium,
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium is I
Yeah.
think
Deep
the
roots.
third fourth oldest stadium too. So like, there's a lot of great history there.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's kind of like it's the same thing. You hear all like the great old calls from Dodger history there. And
Hmm.
a lot of I just I love that. I love that's part of the reason why I like sports so much.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely miss Vin Scully calling the games.
Oh yeah, definitely. The guy that the team that replaced him, and
Hmm.
it does take a team to
Yeah. Yeah.
replace. Honestly, not bad. They're not. The thing I like, they're not trying to be Vince Scully. They're not
Right.
trying.
Right.
Not replacing anybody because he can't be replaced. But their call of the game is awesome. They're doing a great job.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do agree. There's just something about he's Vince Scully was kind of the last of that old world uh, broadcaster.
Yeah. He was. Yeah. He was
That
one of the last 20th century. Yeah. Broadcasters. Like
uh,
literally 20th century.
yeah, they his type of broadcaster just doesn't exist anymore.
Hmm.
All the great. Well, I mean, there's one left in like San Francisco, but like it's not just him doing it by himself.
Right.
It's a team of guys that do it. But yeah, there's just something that we're never gonna have someone like a Vince Scully in any sort of sport anymore either.
Hmm.
Because even some of the great NASCAR broadcasters, they're gone too. Some have passed away unfortunately or have retired, and it's just definitely not the same
Right.
broadcast wise.
Hmm.
It's still like there's still a lot of like great people that are doing it, and like it's not the same.
Right.
I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, especially like that great like. I mean, I know like the northeastern accent. I know that wasn't like a regional thing or an East Coast thing. It was uh, it was a technique of speaking out of necessity because back then the radio frequencies or whatever didn't pick up like the finer little tones and intonations and inflections that modern sound equipment does, and so that they had to talk
Right.
like this and enunciate, and oh boy, it's like we got a double, and
Yeah.
and so
Well,
yeah,
and the
like
other thing too is, oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
oh no, I was more or less done.
Oh, no. What I was saying is like the other thing with with like the radio guys too, because it was all radio back
Right,
then.
and they had to be
Is
great
you had
like
to
descriptors.
exactly. That's that was going to be my point. Is that yeah, you had to be a wordsmith. There's uh, a couple of great broadcasters from the radio age of NASCAR, which was Ken Squire and Barney Hall, and my God, they were like the great like wordsmiths. And Barney Hall stayed on radio until his death. But like Ken Squire, when he moved to TV, it was just kind of the same thing. Where like how Vince Scully, they brought that same like radio personality and like made it work for TV as well, which
Right,
was kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
uh,
and even Chick Hearn, like he had some great he had some he coined a lot of the descriptors of things that we that's common in basketball now, like the finger roll
yeah,
or what or and just like and just like his like analogies and stuff, or just like his metaphors, like oh the lights are out, the refrigerator doors closed, and the Jello is jiggling. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely a guy that I miss, Chick Hearn. He was I loved listening to him call Lakers games.
yeah.
We were very lucky. We got a lot of great. For all the LA teams had really great broadcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Vince Scully for the Dodgers, Chick Hearn for the Lakers, and maybe a little bit lesser known, but also just a great guy in Bob Miller for the LA Kings.
Mm.
I grew up more of as a Detroit Red Wings fan. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
who I started when I started watching hockey. That's the team I remember starting to watch. But man, I loved listening to Bob Miller call Kings games, and he's retired now, but man, he was just kind of the same ilk as like Vince Scully and Chick Hearn. He was just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what was I think it was a number of years ago when they had the hockey does like these outdoor like rink series throughout the hockey season, and they did one at Dodger Stadium for the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob Miller and Vince Scully were doing the game together, which was kind of cool.
Oh wow.
So it's the two greats
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
working together, which was that's such an awesome thing to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I mean I don't know. I understand like why people aren't into sports, but like there's a lot of it's not just even the game itself. There's a lot of stuff like outside of outside of the game that makes it fun too. I think like what makes baseball so fun as well is because there's a lot of because of that strategy and like all the stats that are associated with baseball. It kind of creates this element of like, hey, like, what if we did this? And like a lot of people, kind of manage games like in their own head, and it's even before the whole fantasy sports stuff started, there was
Yeah.
something called stratomatic baseball, and you would like kind of create your team and try and through chance and stuff like that, you would have these battles with other players of the game, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And I think that added like kind of the fun of baseball, and like baseball cards were huge a number of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not just necessarily the sport itself, but it's the a lot of like the cool stuff that surrounds it as well. And so I think that's why I'm also kind of like a big sports fan, because it's not just the sport, it's the whole aura of everything that surrounds it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think once if you're not people who aren't really sports fans, I don't think understand like how people can get kind of crazy and all that. I had a friend who it's like I don't get it. I don't understand like why people are like cheering and stuff like that. It's like because it's a human thing. It's like it's
Right? I know. How can you not ridicule?
he was very Sheldon like in a lot of ways for where it's just like it was almost like we had to explain human emotion to him on a number.
Yeah. On the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of on the spectrum. Yeah. It's funny because actually I met up with James and Dancing Jason the other night, and James was recounting his weekend and how he was cornering for this guy he knew because he was an MMA fighter. And
Yeah, I read about that.
What was
I
that?
read his post on that, but yeah, that was kind of cool to hear him doing that.
Yeah, and James was this guy's grappling coach, but he was just telling me how like this guy's kind of he's an educated guy, but he's a little bit awkward and just kind of like kind of like he's maybe not really up on like social cues and how like it was and James was sharing how it was it was kind of exasperating, being around him, even though like they're friends or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how like people who are kind of really intelligent, like sometimes it's just like they're, I don't know, it's like so focused on like the things that are important to them that they just like
Right.
they kind of just don't really like the social stuff doesn't really like matter to them.
Hmm.
And not that they're like being intentionally like dickish, but
Hmm.
it's just more of like I don't have time to care about like your feelings right now. uh, uh, I mean, it's not every intelligent person is like that, but it seems like only intelligent people are have that issue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like the really hyper intelligent people, but I actually watched this video from this guy named Stefan Molyneux. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Well, he's this Canadian, like, kind of philosopher, and kind of in like, and he does like these really thorough like breakdowns of like news stories and things like that. And he's a really interesting guy. But he was, kind of talking about, the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, and like I don't know, like the latest news is that Harvey Weinstein, went to rehab for sex addiction, and through like a rigorous and strenuous week-long program, he's now cured. Is like,
Okay.
and he was talking about, and then he was talking about like how people like Harvey Weinstein lack empathy, right? And
Right.
he was, and then he what was it? He made like not an analogy, but he made it like empathy and language analogous to each other, right? And
Mm.
there's a certain window in our development as human beings, from babies, where there's a window where we learn language, right? Where it's like,
Right.
where it's really simple, where it's really easy, and we pick up language really easily. And he was saying like, oh well, maybe he, and if empathy is like a language, then maybe Harvey Weinstein missed that window of opportunity to learn empathy, to like realize that like that kind of behavior isn't acceptable, or uh, isn't tolerable in polite society.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
uh it's one of those things where it's like we're all like looking it's like does he just like did he do it because he liked did he like it because, or did he do all that stuff because he didn't think it was like he was doing anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a a huge number of like possibilities that it might be with that guy. And uh yeah, who knows? And hopefully, if it's something where it's like there's something wrong with him, and uh, he can get like help to like kind of deal with that and
Right,
like
and,
get better.
and longer than a week, longer than a week.
Yeah, it seems like I mean it's not. I'm hey, if he's cured, sure, but I'm very skeptical.
Right, yeah.
People like him are kind of good at faking shit like that. That's yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot more scrutiny on him now, but it's they guys like that are smart. They can hide stuff like that for a while.
Right. I
And
mean,
No, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just about to say, I mean, like how much work could he have done within a week to like really drill down and get to like the root of like some of his behavioral like issues in a week, and like the way it was described, like he was still like on his phone, like conducting business. It was like it was more than just like an outpatient kind. He got more than just like the normal like outreach, outpatient kind of treatment where like even
Like
the outpatients, they come in and they still like they live like on their own. I'm sure because this was in Arizona, some treatment center in Arizona, so he probably had his own like place like kind of nearby. So he was coming in and out of like the facility, and I mean, but if
right, right.
if he wasn't held to the same standard, as other patients, how in depth could they have gotten, within 7 days? Even supposedly, if these were intensive strenuous treatments, and that's a really vague kind of term. Like, are we talking about like 12-hour days? Where they're like just constantly working, doing workshops and having one-on-one time with a therapist to talk about his problems or whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
Who
And
knows? Yeah, and who knows? But
um, yeah, and what was I? Because I've been watching was a lot of the Daily Wire recently,
mhm.
and there was a I think it was on the Andrew Klavan show today, where it's like they were kind of he was kind of comparing like the stories of the Harvey Weinstein and the whole like Bill O'Reilly scandal that was have from what about a year or so ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but his whole thing is like is one worse than the other, or is it kind of like the same thing? Um, and because it's like because like one guy is like ultra like left wing, and the other guy is kind of like on the complete other side, where the discussion is like is just because like somebody's on this one side doesn't make it okay, and like the other one is like it's not okay. um, and I definitely like the coverage of both guys like kind of come like from the media side come into question, because I feel like in a lot of ways Harvey Weinstein got a little bit of kind of an easier pass from some of the media, whereas Bill O'Reilly was kind of like thrown under the bus like right away. But I would say like neither one is necessarily like in a good position. Like if and it's all alleged, but I think let's be real. If there's enough smoke around that fire, like there's probably fire. Uh,
I mean, well, yes, because what is it? Like for the Bill O'Reilly thing, like there was constant like updates, like oh new, audio like leaked, or new, like a new, new accuser, new allegations are coming out. But
yeah,
yeah, it definitely feels as though they're treating like Harvey Weinstein and like, the whole situation with kid gloves, and so
right. And that's like where it's like okay, so I would say probably like the media coverage is a little bit you know dishonest in it, like how they're not quite covering the seriousness on they're covering like they're going way overboard on one guy, yet like kind of being a little bit more soft on another guy, whereas I think both are if and more than likely there's some truth to like all what's happening. I know like sometimes there's the well like one person comes out and then there's like a whole bunch of others that just kind of glob onto it. It's like yeah, me too. Like
yeah, I
it's
mean
like
it's definitely, yeah, like the whole like it's like the Cosby effect.
yeah, it's like it's like they want to get their 15 minutes of fame as well, which
Mhm.
is kind of I think that's kind of disgusting to do that, but um, yeah, like where there's some truth to what's going on with like their character and like their actions,
Hmm.
and there's enough truth where it's like, okay, something happened for sure.
Right.
We don't
And
know exactly what and to what degree.
mhm.
Um,
I
so I mean,
mean,
but it's like but I think like if they're both guilty of something, so I just be like kind of like honest in like the coverage about those guys, and they're both one's not better than the other in a sense. It's just like they're both like it's kind of bad on both sides.
yeah, and I mean, like again, it was described as the worst kept secret in Hollywood, and they enshrined this guy's sexual misconduct, in jokes, like what was it? Seth MacFarlane had that joke, when he was not hosting the Emmy or Oscars, but they're announcing the nominees. And he said like, oh, and here are the 5 women that no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
And like the room got the room like erupted in laughter, right? And then
Yeah.
there was that 30 Rock, episode where that one chick was saying like, oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
refuse sex uh, with Harvey Weinstein on no more than 3 occasions out of 5. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, and it seems like such an innocuous statement at the time, and but now like is it's like wow, all that stuff is like so there was like people who like knew about his character a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, and was it there was an interview that was it Matt Damon or a part of recently talking about Harvey Weinstein, and the way that like Matt Damon described his whole like interaction with him is that um, he's talking about like how like because he got his start with Miramax and
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
like
Like, yeah, him and Ben Affleck. Yeah, Matt Damon and Ben
exactly.
Affleck, because they produced Goodwill Hunting. He produced Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where he was saying that going into a meeting with him is like if you can survive a meeting with Harvey Weinstein, that like you'll make it in Hollywood, where it's like, and the way that like he was saying is like, well, I mean at the very least I knew he was a fucking asshole, but they bleeped that out, but it was like he's a fucking asshole, but I never knew of like just the deplorable nature of like what he was doing to using his power like on these like young girls and stuff like that, and it was um I don't know if I necessarily believe him, but I feel like there was at least some truth to what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
um and I don't know, George Clooney to me like I want to believe him too, but like I just can't. I just there's a level of dishonesty I see in George Clooney as well, but
Yeah.
um
I mean, and even like with Tarantino, supposedly Tarantino knew about this. Knew about his again his Harvey Weinstein's sexual misconduct. And they've been like partners and collaborators for years.
right.
And he didn't say anything. Because
Yeah, it's
he was afraid that the great and powerful Harvey Weinstein would end his career. And I mean, and I understand like there is some legitimacy to that argument, but like
yeah,
what is you know virtue isn't virtue when it's convenient, or if it's like advantageous.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Where it's like there's some people who like I don't necessarily fault them because yeah, like their whole career was like is on the line, and like if they do go against like they'll at the at best they'll never work again, at least in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
First, like they don't have the money to like to fight like the mega machine that's Harvey Weinstein, his company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then there's the people um who like they're very they're successful, and they have like the money to like, hey, to make those accusations and like stick by them, and like to like and face it legally, and they didn't. Like, I think that's where it's like, and now like they're coming out and saying that they're like, oh yeah, I knew about it too, like it was, and it's like, no, you're not brave. Don't just glob on at the end here saying like how about like how, yeah, you knew, and like and like to me, like people like Meryl Streep and Gwyneth Paltrow and all those guys, like, okay, you guys like maybe like early on, but once you guys like kind of like made a name for yourself, you could have fought that, like if it was such a big huge thing. But no, like you didn't. It's like, and so don't like glob on at the end saying like how brave you are for um, jumping on at the end.
Right. That's kind of my that's my kind of contention with Rose McGowan. Who was like probably the strongest voices in this whole thing, but you know she took a payout from him, $100,000 to stay quiet, and
Yeah,
she did. She took the money and she kept her mouth shut. But it's only now that she's coming out. So her virtue or whatever, it rings hollow. It rings hollow because you took that money. You could have you could have yes, your career could would have taken a hit, and yes, you would have been blacklisted. But then with all, when it when all this information did come out, you would have been vindicated,
right.
right? And then and then you could have, and then your career could have bounced back. But
Yeah,
you took the money, you stapled your mouth shut, and now you're coming out, and we're all supposed to be like, oh, you're so brave and virtuous. No, it doesn't work like that.
um, but yeah, was it, there was the one, was it the one chick who was a former Pussycat doll who would like, I guess the reason that she ended up not having a job anymore with like that group was because of this kind of, not necessarily like Harvey Weinstein, but like just kind of the kind of predatory was it predatory producer.
Right,
That's kind of
right,
a
right,
hard,
right.
kind of a hard couple words to say together. And she's like, I can't. There was like one like time where it's like like, there was these like young girls that were like excited to like go and see the Pussycat Dolls, and like in her in particular, and she's like, I can't be, I'm not a role model to these girls. Like this, like what's going on behind the scenes, and so like, I can't do this anymore. And she kind of like started like calling people out, and it she ended up like and not having a job anymore because of that.
Yeah, because I mean, she was
Like
saying basically saying that she was being pimped out.
yeah, and uh it's kind of, and as crazy as Corey Feldman is and sounds like, he's kind of like that guy on the that homeless guy in the corner with the tinfoil hat, but it's one of those things like I think he's been telling the truth the entire time, kind of like the whole
No,
the big like baseball controversy was when Jose Canseco said that, oh yeah, everyone's doing steroids, and like it's like all like
yeah, yeah,
named
yeah.
like named
No,
people,
but
and everyone's like, you're crazy, Jose. Nobody, it's like it's just you're just trying to get your name back out there. And it's like, no, he was telling the truth the
yeah,
whole time.
right. He went before Congress and everything, and and
Yeah, well,
testified. It's like, yeah, we were all juicing,
all the accusations he made
but
were true.
yeah, but it's really interesting that recently Corey Feldman got arrested on I think drug possession charges, and
That doesn't surprise me.
well, right, but I find the timing to be suspicious because with like this whole like Harvey Weinstein stuff coming out, and everyone's starting to look a little bit closer, into, the Hollywood machine. How long is it going to take them to start, looking into the stuff that Corey Feldman has said? It's
True.
not that
Yeah.
long, and he's like, and he was
And
like, and he was the biggest voice out there, bringing that thing to life. Dude, freaking Barbara Walters, fucking chastised him for speaking truth. It's like, oh, how dare you? You're costing people like their jobs or whatever, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
yeah.
if this is true, then why the hell aren't you why aren't you doing like a 2020 special and like looking into this shit and exposing these rat bastards?
Yeah, because
You know?
the stuff that he was talking about, honestly, I think is even more deplorable too. Because he was talking about like how pedophilia is just they're what they're doing to like young kids, like young boys and girls that are going through that,
Mm-hmm.
and even like so even someone I think that's like even like more of sound mind and a lot more credible is Elijah Wood, who's like, yeah, this shit it's been going on forever. Like, and he talked about like his time because he's been acting since he was a young kid too, and his whole after his career kind of took like a odd turn as well. Like after he's kind of been talking about that stuff, so um, it's I definitely as crazy as Corey Feldman sounds, and he is crazy. He's not wrong either. I yeah, the whole time that he spent with Michael Jackson and all that. Like, I don't know if he would count Michael as part of that, but the whole I because he was talking about like how stuff that would happen to his Corey Haim and all that stuff, and how like it ended up he'd end up like doing drugs and probably led to his death as well.
Yeah, right. And kind of circling back to the Pussycat doll thing. Um, the creator or founder of the Pussycat Dolls, Robin something or other. She founded another girl group. Simplistically titled Girl, GRL, and one
Yeah,
of them, like at 25, committed suicide. I think it was like 3 years ago. Yeah, she committed
right. Yeah.
suicide, and and they found her, her body like hanging.
Jesus.
It's like what drives a young woman to kill herself. Especially when she's just gotten this record deal. She's part of like a girl group that's up and coming, and then what could have driven her to kill herself?
Yeah, that's the 'cause that's a pretty big step where it's like you just go from. I mean, sure, there's the there's depression and all that stuff, but that seems like yeah, when it went from like 0 to 100 real quick in
Yeah,
her
exactly.
case. Because usually there's like as when you look back at some of those cases, like you start to like unfortunately you didn't catch them at the time, but you could see the signs
Right. You
as
see you see the
you look more.
you see the breadcrumbs. You start after someone's passing, you start seeing the breadcrumbs, and you're like, oh shit, oh shit, it was like staring me right in the face this whole time.
Yeah, like the whole like 13 reasons why you kind of like see like there's breadcrumbs to that whole leading up to that event, but in her case it just seemed like it was so like bam like right like out of nowhere too, where it
Mm-hmm.
just seemed a little odd,
Mm-hmm.
which it's unfortunate not to like make light of her death at all, because it's really it's very sad
Mm-hmm.
for someone that young to just feeling like there's no hope and just give up like that.
Right.
Um, and but yeah, it's like it's this it's probably a possibility out of this Hollywood machine that that just she couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want to be used as an object, and there was nowhere for her to go. So it's like that was kind of her way, which is a very sad reality.
Absolutely.
Well, this conversation took a very dark turn.
I know. Well, at least we started off at in a happy place. So
Well, that's true. I was kind of hoping to end up on a happy place. Like we kind of start dark and go into a happier
or
zone. But that's
I mean
that's the way.
I
That's the
mean we
way
can always do a sandwich. Happy, dark. Happy.
it's like we were eating this sandwich and it just went all rotten on us.
Yeah. I know, right? It's like that. What is that? That from the like in the Simpsons? Homer gets like that really long hoagie.
Yeah.
And
2 more feet and I can put it in the fridge.
Right, and then like he puts it in the fridge, but then he forgets about it, and then Marge finds it. It's like all rotted and black and has mushrooms growing on it, and it's like oh, I can still eat it, and then he gets sick.
It's like, Marge, I'd like to be alone with the sandwich, please. Yes.
Well, that was the episode with the erotic adventures of Hercules.
It was the episode where Selma wants to be
yeah, she wants a baby.
Yeah, so she they were gonna go to Duff Gardens, but Homer got food poisoning
sick, and so yeah.
God, that's a great episode.
Yeah.
That's definitely in my top 10.
Word. Oh, quick little thing. Yeah, so as I was saying last night, me and James and Dancing Jason, went out. We were actually doing a little location scouting for James's birthday on October.
Right.
And so, we hit up a few bars just to scope them out, just to see how how they might fit our need or James's needs. And we end the night at this one kind of karaoke bar in K-Town. And it was all right. It was a Monday night, so it was really slow, and it was filled with a bunch of ajishis and kind of hostess bartenders or whatever. And and I ordered a beer, whatever. And we were just sitting there talking and trying to decide, what the plan might be for James's birthday next month. And I flagged down one of the bartenders and I asked her for a glass of water, and then she brings me a slip for the karaoke. I was like, no. I just want some water. And she's like, oh, no. I was like, just tell me what song you want to sing. I was like, I just want water. And she won't, she basically pretends like she doesn't hear me. And then I was like, and then earlier Jason was trying to get me to sing a song.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of, I was like, nah, I don't want to sing tonight. And then, and so, the bartender brings me, the sign-up slip. And then Jason's like, oh, just sing a song. I was like, oh, okay, fine. So I pick a song and I go up there to sing. And and the crappy part about this place is they charge you $7 to sing a song.
What?
Yeah. And it's one of those you perform in front of in front of the the whole bar. And
That's
so
bad.
Which, I mean, if you guys are fans of our podcast, will know that I do have experience singing in front of people. And so that wasn't a big thing. So I go up there and I sing a song and I charm and I impress the hell out of everybody to the point where everyone in the bar was shouting encore, encore, encore. I was like, I don't want to sing another one. And then the lady who's kind of the MC, but she also plays guitar, with the performer.
Yeah.
On stage, she's like, "Oh, come on!" It's just come on, just sing another song. I was like, "Oh, fine." And so I sing another song, and of course, the bar is completely impressed, and they gave me a big applause. And one guy was so impressed, he bought me a beer.
Oh, nice.
Right. But okay, so here comes the crappy part. So the end of the night, we're settling up. I I pay my $7 because because I said I was singing a song, and I figured that I wouldn't have to, I didn't have to pay for that other song, the encore
Oh,
song,
no.
right? I wasn't the one that said, oh, I want to sing another song, I want to sing another song. It was the crowd and like the bartenders and like even like the freaking guitar lady was telling me to sing another song. So I was like, oh, so I thought that would be a freebie. But we head out the bar. We get to the car, and they freaking chase us down with like a security guard saying, "Oh, you forgot to pay for that other song." And we're like, "Why do I have to pay for that second song?" It's like, "Well, you have to." He's like, "Well, you sang two songs." I was like, "Yeah, I only wanted to sing one song, but everyone else wanted me to sing another song. The freaking lady told me to just sing another song. So I thought that you guys were gonna be cool and like just call me that one."
Jeez.
And so yeah, and so they're like, oh, okay, had like they had like shit eating grins on their face, and they just like walked away. It was like stupid because like they're like one of like the hostesses that like chased us down was like right as we were leaving, she was like telling me, "Oh, you sing so well, you have to come back, you have to come back." I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I was like, yeah, okay.
I think that solidifies that you guys will never come back.
Yeah, no, like after that happened, like if they didn't chase us down, it was like it would have been an option. It was like, oh, if we were in K Town and we didn't have, we wanted to do something, but that was the only option. We would have gone, we would have come back. But they freaking chased us down, and they're trying to make me pay for a song that I didn't even want to sing. It was like the crowd. They're like, they're like like I was like trying to get off the stage, but they're like encore, encore, encore. I'm just like, and it's just like, how are you gonna try to nickel and dime a customer who you want to come back, and isn't it better that this customer have a good experience and they come back and then spend more money as opposed to you trying to nickel and dime them and like leaving them with a bad taste in their mouth and like and then making them never come back there ever again.
Yeah. Well, there's been a few of those like times that we've been down in like K Town for like some of those like bars and karaoke places where it's, like,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just that's why there's a lot of times where I'm like, you guys want to go down there? I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I don't want to have to deal with all just like the bullshit that some of those places we had to like all the craziness that we had to deal with some of those places like S Bar. There was some bullshit that happened there. Um, some of those karaoke places where it's like, they're it's not mandatory, but like they're forcing you to like buy certain stuff. Where it's like, I don't want any of this shit. Like I don't want to like it's but then you end up having to spend like an extra $100 on top of like the fee that they're charging for the room, which is astronomical to begin with. Um, and it's just like it gets like, yeah, and that's just like another example of like some of the bullshit that happens down there, which kind of
I mean,
pisses me off.
I grew up kind of back in like the Wild West times of K Town. Back in like late '90s, early 2000s, where it really was kind of like the Wild West, and like they wouldn't card you, and they would like overserve you, and and I made friends with like I made friends with all the owners of the bars and stuff, and I called them Hyung, which in Korean is older brother, and they treated me as their Tongsang, which is like little brother. And so
Yeah.
I guess I was like I guess I'm a little spoiled like that. Just having going from that kind of experience to this one, and I understand it's a business. I really do. I understand it's a
Yeah.
business, and they want to make money, and especially on a Monday when it was like really slow. But it was like it's like they don't have the sense or a concept of customer service. It's like
Right.
for a lot of like especially like Korean business owners, it's like you're like the customer isn't the one to be like it's a privilege for the customer to even be in like their establishment. That's
Yeah,
that's kind
exactly.
of like the mentality that they're having. It's like, oh, you have to pay to be here. It's a privilege to be in here. You could, if you don't want to be if you don't want the privilege of being in my place and, having, taking advantage of my services, then go somewhere else. It's kind of like that mentality, as opposed to like, being a business, but then making sure like the customer has a, overall good experience, so that they, they come back and be repeat customers.
Exactly. Well, that
Yeah.
was the whatchamacallit, like when we were going to there was that time where we were going to like S Bar, no, probably pretty regularly, and it's like we knew like a lot of the people that worked there and all that stuff, and then
Mhm.
yeah, there was just a lot of like bullshit that like started happening. It's like they kept like they were putting stuff on our bill that wasn't there or whatnot, and it's like, no, 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 and like it was getting kind of ridiculous. Like, come on, it's not like it's like we've been here like you know 3 or 4 times like within like a month time period, and it's not like we're not going to come back. Like you're going to treat us like this. And it's like, well, that kind of solidifies us like not coming back. So I don't know if we've been back since to that place.
All right. Well, I actually went back with James and Jason a couple of times, but
Mm,
I mean, yeah, I mean, just like that kind of bar experience is not like really our thing. So you know,
yeah,
we tend to we tend to stay away from places like that. And especially like the booking clubs or like the hostess bars. You know.
yeah. I yeah, I'm definitely more of like I'm just the type of guy like I just like want to like sit down, like have some drinks, talk with my friends, or talk with like other people and stuff like that. Like I'm not into that big whole like super loud like kind of clubbish type of bars. It's just like it's kind of you know it's like when I was like it's too damn loud in here. Like I feel like that old man that's like turn it down. You whippersnappers. Yeah, I'm feeling more and more like that. But honestly, even when I was young, I didn't really like that type of scene. Anyways, I'm more
Mm.
of a to me like it's the conversation and stuff that you have with your friends or like people like around you that makes the atmosphere fun. Um, not necessarily all like the weird wild shit and like all the super loud music that um, I don't know.
Well, for
I
me,
kind of
it's
like
just like the booking clubs. It doesn't make sense to me because like you basically drag the girl or sometimes or in some cases the guy over to a table full of strangers, and even though that they have their own table with their own drinks, they come over here, and then like you're supposed to have you're supposed to be like strike up a conversation. You offer them a drink, but then you just end up giving these girls like away your drinks, and just like
yeah
and like they don't want to be there, and they'll like they'll maybe put up with like 2 minutes of like some polite small talk, but then like after that after they have like their shot or whatever, they'll bounce back to their table and just like, okay, great, now and then you just have to wait for the next girl to be brought over, and then
yeah it's a little weird.
yeah,
Little weird.
I'm more the type where I want to eat what I kill. You know what I'm saying? I don't want I don't want the fish in a barrel. I don't necessarily want a turkey shoot. I want to go out there. I want to make contact with this with the girl. I want to break the ice. I want to have the opportunity to try to charm her. And if I'm successful, then I'm successful by my own efforts. you know, and you know, I and if I and if I fail, then I fail by my own efforts, and not just because of the indifference of the woman
Right, right.
that I'm trying to woo.
I've always been of the same kind of ilk too, where it's like it's no fun. Like if like it's like, oh yeah, you're kind of like, forced to be here. Like, that's no fun for anybody. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't I don't really want to talk to someone if I'm like forced to be there with them. So it's just more, like I said. And plus, like, it's one of those things where, so they're forced to be there, and then it's like you seem like, hey, like, the conversation's going well, but then it's like really interesting.
Robert?
I guess also it's just not fun, not cool.
Oh, oh, you kind
Yeah.
of froze there for a sec.
Oh, sorry. No, what I was saying is that it's one of those things where, like, if even if like they show interest, it's like, are they actually interested, or are they just kind of faking it? And so, like, it's just fun in that case, because you're always kind of guessing.
It's actually funny because I have I kind of have experience kind of being in the woman's position
Okay.
because I don't know why, but I mean not to sound like not to sound egotistical or narcissistic, but people like me, you know,
That's true.
people like
I don't
me.
think that's a narcissistic thing. It's very true. I
I,
can attest to that.
people like me, and for some odd reason, like, especially like when we're at bars or clubs or whatever, they want to buy me drinks for some odd reason. For some odd reason, especially the guys. I don't know why, but they always want to have a drink with me, and so I want to be cool and nice, and so I go and have a drink with them. But have been more than a few occasions where you know, be because I don't want to be mean. I kind of I sit with them, or I stand with them at the bar, and we're just, I just like talk. We're just talking. And I'll laugh at their jokes, and I. And then it dawned on me, it's like, oh my god, this must be what it feels like to be a woman who's talking to someone, or kind of ensnared by a guy that she's not really into.
Oh yeah.
She's just doing like the polite thing, and because this guy's buying her a drink, so she might do the polite thing and just like kind of talk to him for a little bit, maybe laugh at a couple of his jokes, maybe share a funny anecdote of her own, and then after that it's like Splitsville, and that's a lot of times what ends up happening to me.
Oh man. Yeah, well, I'm not quite as popular as you are, and for the audience out there, Andy is not lying. A lot of people are very interested in him. He just has this natural, like, charm to him. I do not have that charm. Most people, like, when, I don't know. I'm kind of yeah, like, but it's one of those things where there's a lot of, like, girls that have hung out with, like, our group, and, like, I talk to them, like, within like 5 minutes, like, oh my god, this person and I have like zero in common. In fact, like, there's a lot of some of the stuff that, like, I don't like at all. Like, they're all into. It's like, which is totally fine.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. um, but or in some of the cases where I'm more of the I'm kind of like a hidden gem. Whereas, like, people, like, realize afterwards, like, hey, you know what? Actually, of the group, like, I think I like you the best. Is like, well, I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's funny because do you
Just because, like, Oh, I'm sorry. What were you gonna
Well, I
ask?
was gonna say, do you know Christina Park?
Yeah, I know Christina.
Yeah, yeah. I actually told her like some of those stories, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's exactly what that's exactly what happened."
Yeah,
So I was like, so I got some confirmation from a woman saying like that's exactly what we would go through. I was like, "Holy shit!"
yeah. So it's that's I totally see that with you, Andy. Like where it's just there's a lot of you know there's a lot of uninteresting girls out there too, where it's just like yeah, you're a little like um. Actually, I went through that experience once when I was God, I can't remember who I was with. It might have been I don't know if it was with you guys or if it was with Brandon or can't remember. But we were out at Pineapple, and
Mm-hmm.
this one like chick came up to us, and she just completely just drunk, completely drunk, and she was just talking all this stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, you're awesome. Go for it." Just like just a very quite an interesting person. And it's just like, yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah. Oh,
So
and cougars. I don't know what it is about me, but I attract cougars.
no, I have a cougar story. Oh gosh, I think I told you that story with my what happened with me that I think it was oh it's a while ago now, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a very interesting weird evening. The So I was out with Brandon and he what was it he I think he was like he like just recently like broke up with somebody
Mm-hmm.
whatever, so like he was kind of down, so like, yeah, let's go out or whatever, and he ended up going to the bathroom, and this older woman was sitting next to us at the bar, and she was not ugly by any means, she was a very
Mm-hmm.
attractive lady, um and she starts like kind of like rubbing on like rubbing up on me and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like okay, and so she starts talking to me, and it's like oh yeah, and we struck up a conversation, and yeah, she started to try to you know in lack of better terms, like she started to like her hand started to venture in places where I would rather not mention on this discussion, and God, I was like yeah, a little uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and not because like I was not like I wasn't because I was not interested, but it's just like it's a little I don't necessarily I didn't know her, so I'm kind of very weird about that stuff
Mm-hmm.
with people I don't know, and yeah, it was just very odd. It's like
Yeah, this for me. This one time, this lady was basically flirting with me right in front of her date.
uh, uh, um, I, the other thing that was a little
Robert, you're
like
kind of freezing.
ish. It's she's my mom is only 12. Like, can you hear me, Andy?
Yeah, you're just kind of like it was kind of like lagging, but it seems to be
Sorry,
better
man.
now.
Okay. Um, no. So what I was saying is that you know, the my mom is fairly young compared to my age. She's only 20 years older than me,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone that's kind of sort of close to my mom's age, it's like it's kind of creeps me out a little bit. So I'm like, I'm good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Uh,
I mean, because you don't want to like date someone that's like your mom's age. It'd be a little weird, right?
oh, yeah, it'd be a little weird, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's so that was kind of the other reason why I was like, yeah, I think I'm good.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for my story, I just felt bad because this lady was like flirting with me right in front of like I guess her date or husband or whatever.
Damn.
Yeah, because Yeah, because me and a buddy, we went to the Hotel Cafe in Hollywood to catch a show, and it was kind of packed, and so there was like standing room only, and then I guess like that couple, like next to them, two seats opened up, and then the lady, I was standing closest to her, and so like the lady comes and like tapped me on the ass and was like, oh, these two seats just opened up. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And so like and then I was like just gonna like grab the first seat, like kind of furthest away from her, but she's like, oh, no, you come sit over here. I was like, oh, okay. And then so like she kind of tugs me over, and then she's like, oh, he's like, what are you guys doing here? And then like it was funny because she's like she's like, oh, it's like she was like saying like, oh, you're cute and da 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 da. It's like, oh, do you guys come here often? And I was like no. I was like, well, this is my first time, and I was just kind of looking over at like the guy or her husband or whatever, and I was just like, oh damn, I feel like I feel so bad.
She got all like cucked out or whatever. Damn. Oh boy, that's I don't know. Going out and like doing all there's a lot of weird people that show up in those scenarios.
Yeah, but they end up making good stories for our podcast.
Well, hey, that's true. I always love a good story,
right?
And what was it? There's a great, I think it's a great Southern saying where it's like, well, it's like don't ruin a good story with the truth. You can always make shit up too. No, these stories actually happened.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely glad for the stories to add on to the lore of Nocturnal Transmissions and the Circle of Jerks podcast. It definitely adds a fun element.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're coming up on, or like we're 3 minutes out from hour 30. I mean, I think this is. I think this is good.
Spot.
Huh?
Sounds good to me. No, you think this is a good spot? I'm good.
I think this is a good spot for us to end things. Final word?
Not too much. Just hope Thursdays. Check out Up by Up Down. We weren't able to get out the episode this past Thursday, but that should be rectified this Thursday. Yes.
Yeah, I'm putting the finishing touches on it. So it'll be up. I don't want to say definitely, but it'll be up on Thursday. Okay,
great. So even if it's not up, go if you haven't seen any of the episodes, go back and check them out. It definitely helps us, and comment, like, subscribe. If you hate it, write down your hate comments. We will read them, and we will reply to them too.
Yes.
Good or bad.
Good, bad, indifferent. Well, indifferent ones will those go to the bottom. Hate ones first, then the positive ones, and then the indifferent ones.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that'll conclude for tonight's episode of Nocturnal Transmission. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share this out with your friends and family. If you want to follow us on our social medias, we are on the Twitter at podcastcoj and on Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. I think that covers it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that covers it pretty good.
All right. Again, all right, Jerk Faces. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Deuces.